Hey, what's up guys, TotallyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Westone W80 earphones. Now I'd like to thank Westone for actually sending me these out for review. Now the earphones cost an eye-watering £1,200 on Amazon.co.uk and $1,500 on Amazon USA. If you're interested in the links, check in the link in the description below, including my full review on my website, which goes into greater detail than this video review will ever do. So make sure you check that out if you're interested in the earphones themselves, or just interested to read about £1,200 earphones. Now what do you get in this pretty elegant box? Well, you've got a variety of things, starting with this flight case. Now the flight case, or a big carrying case, comes with a variety of things inside. First of all, you've got a nice selection of tips, including foam tips. Unfortunately, the tips which are included are the True Fit foam tips rather than the Comply foam tips, and in all honesty I wasn't as fan of these as I am with the Complies. You've got a set of face plates, which I'll get into in a little second, in just a little while, and you've got a cleaning tool. You've also got a soft carrying case, which is actually made for the Allo Reference 8 cable, which is also included in here. I'll just get into that. And you've got a little sort of cleaning cloth, or somewhere you can place your earphones, and you've got a hard carrying case which houses the Allo cable. Now the Allo cable, as you can see, is currently being used, and here they are on the earphones themselves. The one that comes with the earphones is a stock Westone cable. I must say I'm very much disappointed to have these included, simply because they just don't sound as good as the Reference 8 Allo cable. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a 3-button remote and an MMCX connector. However, I would have liked Westone to really much concentrate on the cable that they're including, whereas they're including a £300 or an equivalent of £300 reference cable instead, which just surprises me as to why Westone would go for this rather than designing their own cable. I guess they're leaving it to the pros, but at the same time it's a little bit disappointing and feels a little bit lazy. Now looking at the earphones themselves and the Allo Reference 8 cable. Now the Allo Reference 8 cable is included in the box. I'm not just saying it because it's a cable that you can buy yourself. It actually costs $300, and with shipping and import and everything like that will probably come down to £300. Now the Reference 8 cable is the cable that I'm judging with the earphones with. In other words, in terms of sonic reproduction and the quality that you will be able to hear from it, it is different from the stock Westone cable, and this is a much better audio experience. Now both cables are terminated with a 3.5mm jack, which is right angled and has a gold plating, which is useful for longevity. Now the cable itself looks very nice. It's an 8-braided cable. However, I must say that it does have microphonics. Microphonic, which is cable noise, means that as soon as the earphones are touching against your shirt, you will hear a sort of brushing of sound, which will decrease in terms of the overall sound quality and take away from the comfort and the concentration that you're having on listening to the earphones themselves. This means that I was not really impressed, and I must say that I'm very much disappointed to see a £300 cable with a £1,200 earphone to produce such cable noise and microphonics. Nevertheless, the cable itself connects to the earphones via an MMCX connector. That is all well and nice because you can change cables if you so wish. Now if my camera would focus, it would be fantastic in order to show you this. But nevertheless, the cable is actually very hard to remove. Removing it from the earphones is actually somewhat scary. The reason why I say scary is simply because I had to really yank my stock Westone cable out of the W80s in order to get rid of them, and in order to replace it with the Allo Reference 8 inside. This means that if you are going to be changing cable regularly, you'll want to make sure that you use a tool. I use a tool, in other words, I just got something to clasp it around here and then pull it out, rather than pull it from the cable, which might lead to internal audio damage in the strain relief. Now the earphones have a right and left indicator found within the inside of the earphone. They also have a little blue and red dot on the cables themselves. Again, if my camera would focus, we would have no problems whatsoever to show you. Now, the earphones themselves have these faceplates. Now, the faceplates can be changed. As you saw in the box, you've got a variety of faceplates. I think it's red, you've got silver, and you've also got the blue one, which is included here. Now, the faceplates, I don't have any problem with it because it adds a little bit of customization. However, to me, it shows, again, a bit of laziness from Westone in terms of designing a beautiful earphone. The earphones, don't get me wrong, are light. There's nothing too wrong with them. But whoever I showed these earphones to, including when I got them out the box, I felt these weren't £1,200 premium earphones. They look like some sort of cheap sub £100, if that, earphones. Which means to me that if someone is looking at these earphones, they will never think of £1,200. On the plus side, no one's going to mug you with these earphones, let's put it that way. Now, in terms of the design, I would have liked a better design. I would have just liked something that shows a bit more premium quality. On the plus side, the earphones are very much lightweight due to their plastic construction. It's very lightweight, and therefore when they're in your ears, you pretty much forget about them, which is great in terms of long listening sessions or even using them on the go, as they are intended to be. Now, moving on from that, I've got the isolation. Now, the isolation of the earphones is decent as much as it can be for a universal fitting earphone. They have not a massive housing, but the housing does block up as much passive noise as it can, which is good in terms of the overall experience when you're using them on the go and in the tube or when you're commuting. Now, moving on to the sound quality, which is obviously the most important part. Now, what did I honestly think of an earphone that's £1,200? I was actually very much disappointed. The reason behind that is because there's quite a few earphones that kind of trump it in various different categories. I was just unimpressed of the W80s. Now, the W80s house 8 drivers per earphone, and they have a 3-way crossover in order to help all those drivers work in cohesion. In all honesty, I just didn't feel that happened. Starting from the bass. Now the sub bass, to be quite specific, just lacked extension. The extension felt cut off, so in certain songs I felt that the earphones were just struggling to keep up, and therefore when it came to really bassy songs, especially like if you listen to a lot of house music or R&B music, which has a really deep slam to it, these earphones are not going to be able to keep up with that, where they're just cut off on the lower end frequencies, especially towards the lower sub-bass regions. On the plus side, the mid-bass has a nice slam. It sounds quite good and it's quite controlled in terms of the overall mid-bass reproduction. However, I would have still liked a slight extra bit of control. Comparing it to like the Audiophonax PFE 232s, the W80s just lack just that extra little bit of control I would expect from a very expensive earphone. Moving on to the mids. Now the mids sound fantastic if you haven't heard high-end earphones. If you're average Joe and you've never heard earphones more than £100 odd, then you'd think these mids are fantastic. However, when I compared it to the AKG K3003Is, the Sennheiser IE800s, or even the much cheaper Dunu DN2000s, I felt that the W80s kind of lacked in the mid-range. They weren't as forward sounding, they didn't have any sort of presence, and it felt like sometimes certain frequencies were just lacking in terms of the mid-range. It just didn't feel open and full as it should do. Don't get me wrong, I do expect a sort of flat sound signature. I don't expect a V-shaped sound signature, and unfortunately the W80s felt more V-shaped than the other earphones that I had mentioned. In honesty, at this price, I would expect the level of detail that you'd find in full-blown headphones, such as the Sennheiser HD 800, which are very expensive headphones, and those are known for producing fantastic mid-range, which are kind of lifelike. I would have liked these in W80s, and unfortunately did not hear that. In terms of the highs, they do roll off at the very top end, which is a shame again because you don't get that lovely little clarity. Of course, they're not fatiguing in comparison to something like the PFE 232s, which have a slightly sibilant sound at the top end for certain people. The W80s won't sound like that, they sound much rounded, but if you're looking at earphones which are audiophile and at this price range, there's no excuse for it being rounded at the top end. Moving on to the Soundstage, I would say somewhat disappointed. The Soundstage is good, don't get me wrong. It's got fantastic layering where you can hear different parts of the song come out, but on the negative side, the instrument separation just lacked. The spacing that it had within the earphone and the width, I want to say, and the tonality and the imaging just lacked in comparison to other earphones out there. I must say again, like, the imaging is good, but it's not fantastic. It's just one of those earphones that I would say it does good, but it still could do better when it comes down to it. So overall, what do I think of these earphones? In all honesty, I'm not sure what Westone were thinking. Either with the price of £1,200 or the fact of what they were thinking with 8 drivers in the earphones. I think they've overdone it. Too many drivers have caused too many sort of problems, and because of that, it means that the earphones just don't come out as well as I would expect. For £1,200, I expect absolutely perfection for earphones, let alone headphones. Unfortunately, that is not the case with the W80s, and in all honesty, when it comes to using them on a daily basis, I just felt that I was lacking certain frequencies which I'd find in other earphones if I wanted it. If you put the price of £500 on these earphones, I would say yes, I would understand why I would recommend it. But that is including a £300 cable, which again is over the top. Why didn't Westone include a cable that is actually comparable to something like this? I don't know. Nevertheless, that is my honest opinions of the earphones. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and definitely subscribe if you want to see more honest and unpaid content. Take care, guys. Totally dubbed out. Bye bye.